Okay, you don't have a pulse. He's not breathing.
For these lifeguards at Cowabunga Bay, every rescue breath and every chest compression they train to do can make a difference between life and death.
If they have a pulse but they're not breathing, what would you do?
It's a feeling that I really can't explain. It's exhilarating.
8-year lifeguard veteran Sarah Beggs says that the near drowning here earlier this year is a reminder that an emergency can happen at any time, and lifeguards have to always be ready to jump into action.
You're thinking of, what if this happened? What would I do?
But last Friday, the park got word from state officials that they will no longer be recognizing Cowabunga's lifeguard certifications provided by Texas-based company NASCO. And that's because NASCO had endorsed the use of abdominal thrust or the Heimlich maneuver to save an unconscious person in case of a near drowning.
It's a very controversial maneuver, and I believe that's why the state decided to remove it from the training.
Cowabunga Bay's general manager Shane Hewish says that he has already removed the maneuver from his employees' training. A number of health agencies, including the Red Cross, don't recognize Heimlich as effective in removing water from the lungs, only if something gets lodged in the throat.
And if our guards aren't properly trained, then we could have a problem.
I'm going to actually have you in the water a little bit more.
For Sarah Beggs, she said staying vigilant is key for any lifeguard and refreshing the skills that could come in handy when you least expect it.
I don't think there's ever enough training. Honestly, as many situations as we go through, we could see something totally different that we never even thought of could happen.
It's the end of a vintage Vegas classic era.
Years of newspaper clippings saved showing the rise and fall of the Riviera. Las Vegas performer Pia Zadora used to own part of the hotel casino and says it's hard to see it go.
All great things must end.
Zadora performed alongside Wayne Newton and Frank Sinatra.
A lot of that old style glamour has dissipated over the years.
The legendary performers of years ago are gone and the Riviera is aging. Soon, slot machines will be moved. These tables will be dismantled and carried out.
16, 17, 19, okay, you're gambling.
And these guests will all be gone. For the Riv's most loyal customers, this is tough.
Anytime that you lose an icon like the Riviera, years ago, the Frontier, the Desert Inn, yeah, it is a sad time in Las Vegas.
Kevin Carpenter wanted to visit the Riviera one last time.
It still brings back just a lot of fond memories that me and my family has always have had here coming down on this side of the strip.
And for Zadora, who once called the Riviera her home away from home.
This was 1990. The year before the Riviera was the largest casino in the world.
She's keeping her memories of it carefully preserved and accepts the time of the Riviera is done.
It's life, and we have to keep the memories in our hearts and just go on.
The relentless sun outside.
Extremely hot. I'm not used to this.
Has people fighting to get inside by the end of a long, hot day.
It's just hot, extremely hot, okay?
In triple-digit heat, the instinct is often to raise that AC.
I like to think of the electricity as water flowing, right? But then if you increase that, as people use more electricity, there's more and more pressure on that garden hose. And it's very similar on the grid.
The only thing that helps take the pressure off is more available power. That's where this newly acquired mini power plant on Vegas Valley Drive comes in.
And it's really designed for the heat and peak times.
It stops NV Energy from having to buy extra power during peak times from other states. In the past few days, you've been telling us about power outages and surges. We asked NV Energy if these problems are because of a strain on the power grid.
Occasionally there'll be enough power, somebody will turn on a bunch of equipment, big factories and such, that'll draw enough down that'll trip a breaker somewhere.
We also asked if NV Energy's equipment can handle this heat.
So the heat does affect that equipment, but our teams work very hard out in the field and the plants to try to prevent that.
NV Energy says many plants like this one help ensure there is enough power flowing for all customers and that a few weeks of heat will not cause major power issues.
Let me know what mom wants for Mother's Day coming up in the
This
next 15
part of
minutes.
J.D.
Hey, it's
Smith's
Brandon
life
on
feels
SOS.
effortless.
Thanks for listening to at work today.
But another is falling apart. He's about to lose his foster daughter, who we'll call Emma, after 5.5 years.
She feels like she's a part of the family.
She came to them as an infant with a cracked skull and her brain bleeding. Investigators then said her birth parents were responsible, but family court said there wasn't sufficient evidence to prove it. District Court terminated the birth parents' rights, but the Supreme Court overturned that after years of hearings. To this day, Emma's birth parents have never offered any explanation of how she was hurt so badly.
If there's any victim in this, it's Emma. She's a victim first for being in the system, for what happened to her, and she's a victim now for being someplace so long and just being shuffled around as a case file.
Her birth parents now want her back. The Clark County District Attorney's Office has fought this repeatedly, believing this is not in Emma's best interest. After losing this last appeal, the Smiths say they're running out of options. They just want Emma to know one thing about their time with them.
What an honor, what an enrichment to my life that I was able to experience that. I want her to have no doubt that my wife Vanessa and I didn't empty ourselves and give everything we possibly could for her.